Good morning once again and welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka on MTV Sports. Now just before the commercial break as well, we were talking about the Olympics, and I know folks it's over, the Olympics are over, but it's not every day that you get the sacred torch of Olympia coming into the studio of Good Morning Sri Lanka. So once again, Sujit, I hope you've been enjoying your show so far.
Really good.
Yes, and then let's just move on to where we dropped off just before the commercial break about London pulling it off. Now, a lot of people said that the economic situation in London, that going in for Olympics would not be the best call.
Exactly.
But they did it. And what, in your opinion, really fueled this whole joint effort, and what made it such a successful Olympics?
Actually, as you said, there were a lot of people were thinking that, there could be a lot of mistakes we'll make by these games, and a lot of concerns were happening. But you really need to see how the peak, when it's really come to matter, when it's come to really the 12th, 13th, 14th of July, when it's close to the games, that everyone got behind the games.
Right.
And this is where, when everyone pulled together, when everyone pulled their socks together, you can achieve anything. I mean, the security was a massive concern. Massive concern. There are a few things that didn't happen, didn't go to the plan, but the beauty of it was that they had a plan B.
Right.
So everything, even in our company, even with the Olympics, they had a plan B. So they knew exactly, if there's something would have gone wrong, how to get it right. So the outside audience will not see any impact. And that is the thing, I think, any project, and not taking, and they had pre-planning. And everyone knew their responsibility. I mean, this is where, and again, it's, I think, appointing the right people, like British Olympics Association is led by Lord Sadko, and he was Olympian.
Right.
He was a gold medalist. So he knew what exactly to be done. And the security, head of security, was an army commander. So he knew exactly what areas to close the net. So I think, and having regular meetings and review the actions and follow up, that is the key. I think that is how everyone pulled together. I mean, a lot of people were thinking it's a waste of money, because if you look at GB economy, everything, and everyone is struggling with the world economy. But I think there's a massive boost. If you look at the figures last month.
Right afterwards, following up from the Olympics.
Exactly. There was an economy boost. This is where now people are really, they want to bring back again Olympics. After another 20 years, they want to bid again.
Right.
Because they have the confidence.
Definitely, we as Sri Lankans probably could take a lot from that, because we were bidding for the Commonwealth Games. Exactly. And I don't know whether it was a fortunate or unfortunate incident that we were not awarded it. But moving on and talking about Sri Lanka now, you had the opportunity of meeting a lot of these top-class athletes. How was your experience, and would you like to tell us some of the stories that you encountered there?
Well, actually, I was very lucky enough to meet Michael Johnson. He's one of the best athletes in the world as we speak. And I had an evening, a one-to-one with him. And one of the things that I asked him was that this is personally for me, and so I can share that experience with our youngsters. But I asked, one of the questions were that, how you get ready for the next day? If you're running 100 meters, how your mental status? How you getting yourself fit? Because you can mentally go down with the pressure. And I don't like to call the words pressure and the stress. I think those are the challenges you need to overcome.
Right.
I think sometimes using the words pressure and stress, we try to demotivate people and adding unnecessary things into their mind.
But probably you need that pressure and that stress to work well.
Exactly. What he said was that he do self-talk in front of the mirror, and he knew he's the winner because he had the confidence built and fear of the failure. He didn't want to fail. So he put that 1%, that 101%, because he know even he lose 1%, the 100% will be there.
Right.
And he strongly believed that I'm the winner. I will not give my, these are the things that even our youngsters, when we are schooling, how we need to get there, the targets. I mean, those are the things I think that we need to learn from these top athletes. We can relate that to our World Cup, any game, even our own personal life.
Right.
That how we want to get there.
True enough. And talking about Sri Lankan sports and the development of Sri Lankan sports, I'm sure you have a few opinions on what we can do differently. I mean, you were mentioning earlier that we can actually, we haven't really targeted the Olympic Games, as much as we should have, and not really focused on our key areas of strengths. And what can we do differently in the future?
Actually, I think we have a massive strength. We have the talent to go into the Olympics. There's no doubts about it. But we really need to cater what exactly we want to achieve out of the Olympics. I think I was at the semi-finals, beach volleyball, and it was inside the stadium with artificial sand. But then, we don't go into the Olympics to represent beach volleyball. I think that is very sad.
Right.
I think if you go into the evening, because I studied at St. Thomas's, like you, Mela, and then we go to the beach, then you see a lot of youngsters playing beach volleyball. Massive talent there. I think we need to get them, train them. They have the talent. They need the technique, and maybe to put the right people at the right place. And we need to talk. I strongly believe if we can do that, there's a gold waiting on the table.
Definitely.
For Sri Lanka. I think, yes, we need to go after 100 meters, we need to go for 200 meters, but we need to target. And I really like to mention that para games, there are a lot of army personnel who has been to the war, they have come back, and they can represent Sri Lanka. Because if you look at GB teams, para games, a lot of people are coming from Afghanistan, maybe they lost an arm, lost a leg due to the war, but they have the talent. I think we really need to go after that.
And then we were very fortunate to have our first Paralympic medalist this year.
Exactly. That is the beauty. That's a great example. That will inspire many of other people to get there.
Right. And also, as someone who has been living abroad for quite some time, the views on the diaspora in general. I mean, you mentioned earlier, just before we started off the show, that a lot of your relatives, a lot of your friends are very passionate about Sri Lankan sports. Now, sometimes we tend to have this negative view on some of the communities living abroad, Sri Lankans living abroad. But what, in your opinion, you still believe that they have a lot of passion for this country, and especially for the sports in this country?
Exactly. I mean, you see this one when you are in overseas. Sometimes we think that the Sri Lankans living overseas is very anti-Sri Lanka, but that's not the case on every Sri Lankans. There are Sri Lankans in there who really want to give blood for Sri Lanka. I mean, I can take a best example. My elder son Dilmit is a British born, fluent in Sinhalese, and he really want to die for Sri Lanka, and he want to work in Sri Lanka after his higher studies. And when the Sri Lanka lost World Cup, I have never seen that he was in so much in tears. I mean, that is a prime example. There are a lot of youngsters that we can, I mean, now we have won the war. There's a massive opportunity open for Sri Lanka. And I think there are a lot of people who want to come to Sri Lanka and work. And there are a lot of business opportunity for Sri Lanka to grab from overseas. And these are in the business field or in sports.
Right.
I think a lot of lessons to be learned. And to get there, I think, at the right time. I think waiting is a killer. We need to get there now.
Definitely. And just going back, you probably had the chance to go and watch some of the Olympic events as well. Now, in a lot of the viewers' opinions, probably the 100 meters was the highlight. But what, in your opinion, was the highlight? And would you like to just mention some of the key aspects that you saw in the Olympic Games, in the organizing and also the games in itself?
I think one of the highlights were that Mo Farah, he ran 10,000 meters, and then physically you are not fit to run 5,000 meters again, but he made it. But to do that, he need to run another 5,000 meters to qualify. So in theory or in practical version, that he ran 20,000 just within 2 days, and it shows that it can be done. The mentality, how they cater somebody, make him someone mentally fit. I mean, not physically fit. You can be physically fit, but if you're mentally not fit, you will not get there.
Exactly, and we do have a few pictures with some of the athletes that you had the privilege of being with on the screen in a little while. And if you just like to mention
Exactly, this is Richard Whitehead actually. He's a BP sponsored athlete, and then he won a gold for 200 meters.
Right.
And he's a great example. When he was 28, that he decided he wanted to be an Olympian. And then he became like that in age 34. This is Sanya Richardson. She's a USA 400 meters gold medalist, and she gave everything in these games, and she knew she will win a gold.
Right.
I mean, it's great to hear their stories. This is another USA Olympian who really gave everything to the games. Now he really wants to stick to the games and to supportive of the youngsters. This is one of the greatest Olympians in history, Michael Johnson. He was one of the first winners of the 100 meters gold winner, 200 meters, 400 meters.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of the greatest. I think, with all the respects to the Usain Bolt, I think he's the greatest.
You know, in terms of his personality, probably.
Exactly, exactly.
And you know, coming back now to specifically to this torch, if you just like to hold it up for the camera, maybe we can focus. If you just like to mention you know, what goes behind the making of this torch.
Exactly, this is, if you can say, there's a special design here that is made out. If you look at here, it's done it in a very artistic manner. It's a 2012 which they have made. You can see 2 here, and that's how they have made it. Then you have the Olympic logo here, then it's in London, and this is actually made with a special metal. This will never go black.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are 8,000 holes here to represent every single torch bearer. I mean, there are 62 million in Great Britain, and the opportunity had only for 8,000 people to carry the torch, and I was lucky enough to hold this today in Sri Lanka, in my homeland where I was born. And this opportunity will never come again, and this is where I want another Sri Lankan to do the same in the next Olympics. Every Olympics, I think we need a Sri Lankan to do this, because somebody need to take this torch and to carry and to flame it on behalf of Sri Lanka.
Definitely inspiring words there by Mr. Sujit as well. And also you mentioned how BP got involved in fueling the entire process of the torch, the carrying process. Would you just like to mention about that as well?
Exactly. I mean, BP were involved in many aspects of the games to support. So one of the work streams were fueling the future. So we were responsible for make sure there are about 750 generators, the whole Olympic Park lighting. So we were responsible for that, and we were responsible to make sure we fuel the 750 generators. Then we were responsible for 4,500 BMW cars were given. So we were responsible for that to make sure we fuel. Then we were responsible, there are about 120 vehicles, Mevan.